Welcome everyone to True Real Estate Horror Stories. My name is Mike McNamara, your host, and thank you for joining us. And today I have Shay Stein here.
Hi.
How are you?
Great, how are you doing?
Good, thanks for coming. So, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the industry.
Yeah, so I got licensed in 2011. I joined Redfin in 2015, where I get to work with the most amazing humans in the real estate industry, in my opinion. I'm really fortunate. And I just love what we do. My normal production is about 60 to 70 homes a year. Last year was 51, which was kind of quiet for me. 2021 was 76 homes.
Wow.
My goal this year is 81 homes.
Yes, so there you go.
We'll see how that goes.
So you're pushing the goal.
Yeah.
So now is a lot of that business repeat business? Is it new business?
It's about 60-40 repeat referral and then new.
Nice.
Because we have so many people that move who've worked with Redfin in another state and just love the product, and so they'll come here. So for me, they might be new, but they're not necessarily new to working with Redfin.
So they just kind of stay, if they're moving, they'll go through the same program.
We hope so. Yeah, that's kind of the end goal, is that they want to work with us no matter where they go, because it's such a consistent product, because we're employees.
Gotcha.
So there's not, like, you won't find a Redfin agent who sells one home a year. Like, that doesn't exist. As you know, other brokerages don't have that kind of ability to say, hey, look, you have to work this many or you don't work here.
Right.
You can hang your license.
Redfin can't do that.
We have to.
Well, what's also nice about that is that means that the level of agent that's at Redfin is typically very experienced with a lot of
100%
different transactions, different experiences, so forth and so on. So
yeah, because the agents that are not selling as much are still selling 3 times as many as the traditional agent.
Right.
So even the less experienced Redfin agent is selling more than the 8 to 10 homes that the traditional agent sells a year.
Love it.
Not you guys, but you know what I'm talking about.
No, the average agent does 3 deals a year.
You can look at numbers, right? You're doing 3,000 to 4,000 transactions throughout the valley.
Yep.
There's 18,000 agents.
Yep.
Numbers.
Pretty easy. So, doing that many transactions, you always come across different horror stories, different situations that happen. What do you got for us today?
So I kind of wanted to incorporate. It's just one that always sticks out to me when I think of, like, all the crazy stuff that we do. And so this was about, 5 or 6 years ago. I got a phone call from a brother. He was selling his brother's home, who had passed away. And so we talked about the probate process and all of that, and scheduled a time to meet at the home. He came from California, so as we were walking through the home, in California, their disclosure laws are different. So he said, do we have to disclose that my brother passed away here? And I said, no, in Nevada, unless the home killed him, we don't have to disclose that.
Right.
So probably better that we don't.
Right.
And so we walk through the home. As we get to outside, thank goodness, because I had my sunglasses on, he tells me the whole story.
Okay.
Which is that the brother had committed suicide in the home.
Okay.
And because he was estranged from the family, nobody knew for quite some time. Quite some time was 2 years.
Okay. Wow.
In that time, the HOA bills had been piling up or whatever.
Yeah. So there's lots of liens on the property.
Right.
Okay.
Which, does 2 things. It then triggers that really fun, like, hey, this property could go into foreclosure thing that investors love.
Yeah.
It also, because they were HOA liens, the next door neighbor was aware of them and had gone to the HOA to pay them off.
So the next door neighbor paid off the HOA liens that were on the property.
Because you remember, because you've been licensed about the same amount of time.
Absolutely.
You remember there was a time where all you had to do was pay off the liens.
2009, 10,
11, 12.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Where, because there were so many, if you paid Republic Services, the HOA, and, the first and second, you could then acquire the property.
Right.
That's changed, obviously, especially when you only have $3,000 or $4,000 in HOA liens. Like, they're not going to just give you the house.
Right. Right.
The neighbor did not feel that way. He felt like perhaps he would be able to acquire.
Did anybody guide him in that direction, do you know? Or was this more he did it in the past and maybe wanted to try it again?
It's hard to say. I don't know. It kind of, these things started to come out, as they tend to, in the transaction later. So going back to talking about how, again, it gets triggered as a potential pre-foreclosure or something, some investor, assuming it would end up going to auction, wanted to see if he could get like a little sneak peek.
Yeah.
Goes around back, Jimmy's the door,
Oh, without letting you know, just
Oh, I wasn't. This was before I got. This is how
Oh.
they found out that the brother had passed away.
Gotcha.
Investor.
So prior to you listing the property, this neighbor already paid off the HOA fees.
Correct.
There was an investor that's already kind of got into the property to take a look.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's when he finds whatever would be left of somebody after 2 Las Vegas summers with
Oh my
no
God.
air conditioning.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
How? Oh, that's so gross.
So before I got there, that all happened. Hazmat came in.
Gotcha.
You know, they have to replace the flooring. They had to clean out all the air ducts, all the things that happen.
you would have to do.
So by the time I get there, it's move-in ready, and we list it for sale.
Did the family pay for that remodel or
Insurance.
insurance covered all of that? Perfect.
Insurance covered that.
Okay.
So we list it for sale, and then I start getting phone. You know, it's a single story. It's, as far as you can tell, nice and clean, and
Yeah.
in that like very wonderful price point. So lots of activity. I'm getting a lot of follow-up phone calls from agents that the neighbor is coming out and telling the people the whole story.
Gotcha.
You know, did you
and
know
probably
there was
also telling them that he owns it, right? Or that
Well,
he
yes,
has
like
rights to it?
like I have acquired interest in this property, and did you know that somebody was in there for 2 years?
That died
After- yeah.
and so forth and so
And
on.
whatever other parts
Right.
of the story. So, you know, at that point, I had to call the brother and just say, listen, I think we have to, we're not going to stop him, right? He's an
Right.
adult. We can't stop adults from doing things.
Right.
So what we can do is require appointments to be made so that we can have a conversation ahead of time and at least tell our side of the story so it's not so jarring. Because
Yeah.
I think when you have the whole drive to get there and kind of prepare your client or
Yeah.
to say, oh no, my client's not going to be okay with that, let's just save everybody some time.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you basically took the initiative to take it out of the control of the neighbor, set the appointments,
Right.
and then basically give a little bit of a history just to make sure in case the neighbor lets them know they're already aware.
Yeah,
when they come
exactly. So it's not jarring because if you're like,
Right.
yeah, okay, I know the guy was in there for 2 years, who
Right.
cares?
Then
so
you don't care what the neighbor says.
Yeah.
Now, were you also letting them know about the neighbor and that a neighbor might say something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, and that was what allowed us, because that, you know, after 7 to 10 days of that, within
Right.
3 days of letting people know, we had a contract and went through the process and got it done.
Right. So it's that little tweak basically sold the property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what experience and time, you need an agent who likes a challenge and is ready to make
Yeah.
any type of adjustment. I think that's what makes us good at what we do, is
Absolutely.
the ability to pivot, because no two situations are the same. And you can sit there and say, well, we can't control the neighbor, so we'll just
Yeah.
sit and wait. Or let's come up with creative solutions so that we are not at the mercy of the neighbor
Yeah.
and can offset this.
And so once you receive the offer, obviously it goes through probate. Do you, so I know some agents will take it through probate prior to listing it and kind of start that process early. Do you do that? Do you wait until I do it the other way? I kind
Yeah,
of,
well, because
depending.
things change.
Right.
And, you know, with an accelerating market, it doesn't always mean that you can do that. So without a contract, it was pretty impossible. Fortunately, we had a really good attorney that we were working with as well. So they sort of guide the process from there, as you know,
Yeah.
to handle it. But without a contract in place, it's really challenging for the court to determine, if you're planning on selling it, what to
Right.
do. You know, you can
Right.
take it through probate.
and that's why I wait.
Yeah.
Or not wait, I get everything set up, but then typically I don't go through probate until we have the offer.
Yeah.
And then what a lot of agents don't know is that once you go through probate, you still have to show up to the court date because, and this is one of our prior horror stories, they didn't show up to the court date, and it was a friend purchasing another friend's property who passed away.
Oh.
And the agent did not tell them to go to the court date, did not go with them to the court date, and she lost the property. And so it was devastating, obviously.
Yeah.
And so a lot of agents don't know that you do have to go to that court date because there are investors that sit there and are looking for those good deals. And so they will outbid that, or basically they'll try to outbid that,
Right.
that offer, and then you have the option of going above it.
Well, especially in an accelerating market, because by the time you actually get to your court date, I mean,
Correct.
I can't even imagine thinking about doing probate 2021, 2020, you know, like
Right.
early 2022.
Right.
By the time you got to the court date, you could have had a $50,000 increase in,
Right.
in values depending on where you are. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I ask all of my agents if there's a book that you would recommend to a new agent, what would it be?
It's hard because tend to kind of read a lot of the same stuff. I think just to get out of sort of the salesy thing, but not really. One of my favorite books, it's a lot to chew through, but Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman.
I'm familiar with it. I have not read it. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm a little bit of like a Danny Kahneman, like, because I love anything like Freakonomics and any type of behavioral economics. It's super important to what we do, but it's not something that, you know, when you're reading all these books about prospecting and all these other business-oriented books, sometimes you forget the human component, and it's easy to sort of just do a disc profile and be like, you're one of these four. The reality is everybody's different, and they come with their own stories and their own idiosyncrasies, and to me, behavioral economics kind of helps as we're helping them navigate a very emotional and and Thinking Fast and Slow talks about the two ways that we think as humans. There are some things that are like heuristics, right? We think really quickly about certain things. Other things take us a while, and sometimes we think quickly about one thing, and then once we have time to process it, change our mind. And we
so that's what that book talks about? Awesome.
And allow it, you know, for me, what I take away from it as a salesperson is allowing your clients to have those immediate reactions and then helping them process through so that they feel really good about the decisions they make. Because, you know, this is not a pair of shoes we're selling, right? We're selling this future promise.
Their biggest investment, typically.
Yeah, and the future promise of what they get to do and what they get to be there, and getting to be a part of that with them is such an incredible gift that they allow us to be a part of that moment. If we're not always upping our game and learning how we can better serve them and help them, that's a huge disservice, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. There's another book, Unreasonable Hospitality. I'm reading it right now.
Oh, I'm going to write that one down.
I'm obsessed with it. I'm having Sarah read it as well, or I want her to. But it's very similar. It's about a guy that owns restaurants, and he brought basically a New York restaurant from a Michelin 2-star to a 4-star within 7 years, and all of the like little touches that he did for the people that came that would up their customer service level. And so for me in real estate, I think that's what's missing in our industry, and not just our industry, in a lot of industries. So for me, that book is amazing. But
I'm here for it. I'm a voracious reader, so that'll be my next one.
You'll like it. You'll like it a lot. So, thanks again.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.